Bidding farewell to my dear friends at the farewell party, I remember the collective spirit that was unique to my culinary school. Each one of us was miles away from our homes, our hearts bound by a mutual passion and a shared dream, the dream of mastering the culinary arts. It was fascinating how the bustling kitchens of the culinary school led to the weaving of strong friendships that transcended cultural and geographic boundaries. Amidst the cacophonic laughter and the nostalgic reminiscing, I could hear the echoes of normally busy kitchens, now muted with the impending parting of ways. There it was, a picture-perfect moment, the room filled with chatter, laughter, and the clinking of glasses. A snapshot of the sacred bond that we transformers of food, foragers of flavor, and pioneers of the palate had built. The conversations we had then were filled with jubilation, yet there was an underlying sense of nostalgia, an anticipation of the inevitable goodbyes. Each one of us, the French, the Turks, the Americans, the Koreans, and every soul who journeyed from someplace else, found a common home in Le Cordon Bleu, and leaving was understandably wearisome. Isabella, Jean-Baptiste, Alexandre, Maria. Names that were once alien had now become a part of who I am. The hours we poured over the stove, struggling and succeeding, sharing laughs and occasional burns, all had cast a spell of an indelible connection that was hard to break. Amidst plates of coq au vin and beef bourguignon, pots of daube and pans of cassoulet, friendships were forged, and memories were cemented. The celebration of our resilience and talents, encapsulated in last suppers, toast-ups, and fervent exchanges of recipes and thrills of culinary delights, were tangible evidence of an extraordinary journey together. However, beneath the veneer of cheerfulness and bonhomie, I could sense a hint of reluctance creeping in. It's strange, isn't it? How something that had started so innocently, a bunch of strangers united by a common goal, had now captured such a big chunk of my heart. My friends, or rather my culinary family, had seen me through the ups and downs of this foreign yet endearing journey, tolerating my half-baked French, bearing with my exuberance, or simply being there during those moments of self-doubt. I acknowledged with a hint of melancholy that the farewell party wasn't just about parting with friends. It was about reluctantly disengaging from a community that had been my extended family away from home. The following weekend, I found myself touring Normandy with my buddies. My heart throbbed with anticipation as I stepped onto the soil, resonating with the vibrant vernacular of a culture unknown. I was about to get a taste of something beyond the dissected culinary skills of a professional kitchen, the untouched, raw essence of regional cuisine. The quaint townships and hamlets, speckled along the backdrop of rolling countryside, seemed to be gestating a world far removed from the bustling cityscapes in Paris. There we were, walking down the cobblestone pathways, flanked by medieval half-timbered houses, awash in a hush of tranquility. The vibrant marketplace was bustling with puzzled tourists and cordial localities, where every corner brimmed with the animated whispers of bonjour and the heady aroma of fresh produce. Baguettes, camembert cheese, cider. Every bite was a gustatory expedition in itself, revealing a new facet of this deeply preserved French culture. As my friends and I flitted from one stall to another, I observed how the town's culinary life oscillated between age-old traditions and the ingress of global influence. By the end of our small exploration, we found ourselves nestled in a cozy family-owned eatery. The simplicity of the place, contrasting with the complexity of the flavors on my plate, was an experience I treasured. Each bite of the hearty bouillabaisse and sips of the apple cider sent me on a trip back in time, the potent aftertaste binding itself with my senses, compelling me to explore deeper into the roots of this simple yet sophisticated cuisine. What followed after was an intimate conversation with the owner of the eatery, a middle-aged woman whose face shone with the mellow glow of satisfaction common to people bound in love with their art. She shared her family's recipes, passed down through generations, intertwined impeccably with anecdotes of the past. There was some sort of magic as she indulged her narratives in the traditional preparation process, how her grandmother would gather fresh clams early in the morning, or how her father would discerningly choose the right cider. The stories made the food taste so personal, so human. Each experience, each bite, every interaction, felt so enriching, adding layers to my understanding of French cuisine beyond culinary techniques and textbooks. I gulped it all in, cognizant of the fact that such experiences were the bricks that would build the foundation of my culinary journey. The aromas and flavors of Normandy found a new home in my heart, bookmarking a chapter of my life that would, years later, resurface in the remembrances treasured behind the culinary corners of my mind. The following week saw my final encounter with Isabelle. I remember her standing against the backdrop of Parisian beauty, the warm yet biting chill of early spring swirling through her golden curls as we met in our favorite park. A flood of memories washed over me as I saw her blinking back tears, her eyes radiating unspoken emotions. It was then that I gifted her a necklace. It wasn't an extravagant piece of jewelry, but a simple handcrafted one, a silver pendant with a miniature chef's hat and a small knife, representing our shared love for cooking. Silver, as I was taught, symbolizes refining. And that's what our relationship had been. It had refined both of us, our love pure and valuable like the precious metal. A thread of sadness was palpable as I caressed her hand lightly, her fingers lightly squeezing mine in understanding. "This is for you, Isabelle," I mumbled, my voice barely a whisper against the breeze. Light-hearted moments and shared laughter flickered in my mind, replacing my sadness with gratefulness for the time we had spent together. I couldn't help but think that it was in these cobbled streets and quaint cafes where we truly got to know each other, where we nurtured our passion for food and life. It was in Paris, amidst the clatter of pots and pans, the intoxicating aroma of fresh ingredients, that our bond had blossomed. Feeling her last hug, her body warm against the March chill, reminded me of the numerous times we had huddled together after long hours in the school-run restaurant. It was yet another friendship I was leaving behind, another string pulling at my heart, a string that tied me to the city of love and lights. Her parting words echoed in the wind. "Remember, Hyun, every chef creates a signature, go create yours." Reluctantly withdrawing my arms from around her, I repeated her words in my head. I would miss her, I knew, but as she had said, my culinary tale was still being written, and it was time I honored it with my concentration and undivided dedication. The days leading up to my departure were filled with a strange mixture of anticipation and heaviness. I found myself gravitating towards the Seine River, its incessant flow reminding me of life and time that never stopped for anyone, moving relentlessly forward. As I took my usual walk by the river, I didn't need to glance behind at the Notre Dame Cathedral to remember her silhouette, the towering edifice permanently etched in my memory. It was a serene evening with a golden sunset, painting the city in hues of deep orange and light pink, casting long shadows that danced as though reflecting my inner turmoil. The skittering pigeons, the soft whispering of the river against the stone banks, the distant chime of church bells, all felt like an elegy bidding adieu. It was during these walks I truly felt the magnitude of what I was leaving behind, an important chapter of my life carved on the banks of Seine. The cold breeze that ruffled the water's surface, creating symmetrical ripples, had a certain chill to it, peculiar but not new. It reminded me too well of the chills down my spine on my first day at Le Cordon Bleu, the same chill I had felt before my first football match on the streets of Seoul. It was the chill of the unfamiliar, the chill of diving into the unknown, the thrill of unlocking potential within myself I never knew existed. And just like that, as I stood on the edge of the river overlooking the dusky cityscape mirrored in the water, the thrill returned. The same excitement and dread filled me as I realized the enormity of my return home, to prove to myself and to others that the Hyun returning was not the same boy who had left years ago. I picked up a small pebble and hurled it into the river, watching as it created a series of ripples that extended far and wide before fading into nothingness. And as the ripples disappeared, so did my worries and uncertainties, consumed by the formidable tide that was life. The city that had taught me so much about food, love, and life had one final lesson for me. As I watched the ripples, I understood that our actions, much like the stone's impact, produced effects that extended far beyond what we could see. Though the ripples of my Parisian life faded, their impact on my life was both intangible and immense. I realized I was not just leaving behind a city, but taking with me invaluable lessons, memories, a refined version of myself, and most importantly, a purpose I had cultured along the banks of Seine. Staring at the almost still water reflecting my resolute face, I knew it was time. Time to take the ripples I had created here in Europe to my homeland, to test them in my own waters. I left the riverside with a slightly heavy but hopeful heart, ready to embrace my future with the strength I had garnered in this foreign land. Yes, I was leaving Paris, but the essence of it would forever remain with me, like the Seine River ever flowing in my heart. On my last night in Paris, I found myself perched on my balcony, overlooking the city that had embraced me warmly, carving itself into pieces of my heart. Influenced by the rhythm of the city, I spent the evening huddled in my jacket, nursing a glass of the Pinot Noir I came to love, painting the canvas of memory in the hues of Paris's twilight. My eyes fluttered over the cityscape, the clenched knot in my stomach contrasting the tranquility of the panoramic view in front of me. The admiration I felt wasn't for the lofty towers or the charming alleyways alone. It was for the lessons these cobbles had instilled in me. The lessons that came in moments as simple as mastering the crepe flip, to the delightfully overwhelming day when I first held my freshly baked baguette, twirling it around like a piece of art. I took a sip, and the fruity notes of the Pinot brought a comforting warmth very much like the city itself. My gaze landed on the Eiffel Tower, petite and grand at the same time, much like my journey in Paris. As I gazed at the city lights, they felt like fireflies, each twinkling light carrying a memory. From the nervous laughter on the first day of culinary school to the heartache of the lingering goodbyes. Paris had seen me in all hues, the elated victories, the whispers of self-doubt, the grueling hours in the kitchen and the intimate moments of love. The city, with its narrow boulevards and grand architecture, had seeped into my stories, becoming an indispensable part of my narrative. Looking across the city, I felt my heart throb with a sense of gratitude. Paris had been a challenge and a charm, and I was leaving a part of me behind, hanging between the stone buildings and riverbanks. The pungent scent of the noir, the distant city sounds were now seconds ticking, reminding me of the inevitable, that my journey in Paris was ending, giving way to a new journey waiting to embrace me back home. Paris had been more than a geographical location for me. It was an emotion, a character in my story I could talk to. With traces of crepes, bouillabaisse, and baguettes, it had embraced a young, ambitious boy from Busan and molded him into a more evolved man and a passionate chef. The city had seen my love bloom, wit climax, skills polish, and soul evolve. Each location held a part of the big picture, the big dream that was constantly brewing in my mind. As the night deepened, the reality of the situation settled in. A peculiar calm washed over me, reducing the knot in the stomach to a dull throb. Yes, a part of me was about to be left behind, but I was also taking a huge part of Paris within me. Paris had given me Isabelle, made me an artist in apron, a seeker in love, an adventurist in the kitchen. The city had taken me in its fold, echoing heartbeats with mine, and now it was time to carry that heartbeat to a new landscape. As an empathetic lover, Paris didn't pretend the leave wasn't coming. Instead, it graciously prepared me for this inevitable farewell, much like a mother preparing a son for his own journey. The skyline looked like a watercolor painting bathed in moonlight, each light a whisper of the prosperous journey ahead, wistfully bidding me adieu. I smiled at the city one last time, its reflection in the rustic glass of Pinot Noir a mirror of my feelings. Sentimental yet hopeful. The city had done its part, and now it was my turn to reciprocate. Yes, I was leaving Paris, but the Paris within me was only beginning to live. Just as the cityscape came alive at the break of dawn, my mental landscape started to glow with gratitude and longing. I knew that Paris had been more than a geographical location for me. It was an emotion, a living character in the story of my life. The sharing of croissants at breakfast, the shared pots of bouillabaisse at dinner time, the competitiveness in the kitchen, every crackle of a baguette, every note of a well-aged Bordeaux, it all held a piece of my soul. This bustling, vibrant city had fit me into its beautiful jigsaw puzzle. The clay shingles, cobblestone streets, the languid Seine River, even the pealing bells of the Notre Dame. They were threads woven into the fabric of my journey from being a naive lad from Busan to a resourceful, passionate chef. The aroma of simmering coq au vin, the clatter of pots and pans in a busy kitchen, the shimmering city lights, they all spoke a language that echoed the rhythm of my life. With every glance across the city, gratitude welled up in me, flooding my heart with warmth much like the delightful feeling after a hearty meal. It was not just the food, nor the picturesque buildings. It was the feeling of belonging, the feeling of being at home far away from home that endeared the city to me. There was a symphony between Paris and me, and every aspect of the city chimed in, molding me, shaping me into who I am today. This symphony played in the background as I got enamored with Isabel, as I refined my culinary skills, as I evolved from a wide-eyed tourist to a seasoned Parisian. As the city fell asleep under the vast starry sky, reality began to creep in. There was a mysterious calmness that washed over me, much like the Seine River gently lapping against its banks. I felt like a piece of clay being shaped by a potter's hands where Paris was the potter. The brown, rustic roof tiles, the artistic graffiti, every scenic view reiterated that I was leaving a part of myself behind, yet taking a part of Paris with me. Paris had gifted me deep friendships, unforgettable moments, and invaluable lessons in the kitchen and in life. It had woven tales of love and camaraderie, plated with laughter and seasoned with shared dreams. Its enchanting aura, its rhythm and warmth, its relentless passion, all of it was now just not a part of my life story but also a part of my identity. The city, in its own beautiful way, was bidding me adieu, leaving a lasting impression on my life that would no doubt guide my journey ahead. Paris planted a seed in me, nurturing it with its love and life, and I, like a tree, spread my roots deep into its soil. As I prepared to leave, I felt myself carrying the city within me, its essence wrapped carefully around my soul. A sense of melancholy lingered in the air, as if the city were whispering a soft, long farewell into my ears. This city of love and lights had been a mirror reflecting my evolution, my triumphs, my moments of self-doubt. All in all, I was returning home, but I was leaving a home behind. Looking at the Eiffel Tower one last time, I felt Paris run through my veins, just like the red wine in my glass, both having a distinct character, both unforgettable. The silhouette of the iconic monument, blinking away into the night, was not just a longing farewell, but a promise of reunion. While the city lights flickered like stars beckoning me to new horizons, my journey here was etched into the path for my return. Even as I was preparing to bid adieu to Paris, I knew in my heart, the Paris within me was excited about the new journey and the new challenges and opportunities that awaited me. Just like my dinner routine, Paris was a staple in my life, and missing it was no less than missing my favorite home-cooked Italian pasta, hard to forget, and always calling for a second serving. I spent my final night in Paris packing, staring out of my apartment window and gazing at the twinkling city lights. Engulfed in a sense of solemnity, I found myself sifting through mementos that had woven the tapestry of my life here, almost like a sentimental archaeologist. Tucked away between my belongings was the Le Cordon Bleu apron, the whisk from my first cooking lesson, the wine cork from the vineyard visit. Each artifact was a silent testament to my time in Paris, a bookmark in the thick book of my culinary journey. Pictures of my friends, envelopes of acceptance and graduation from the culinary school, my first bouquet of yuzu and lavender, they served as physical reminders of my Parisian adventures. It was overwhelming yet fulfilling, like kneading dough until it becomes smooth, the hard work always leading to a satisfactory finish. As I traced my fingers over the faded ink of a postcard, sent from Busan by my sister, I was transported back to the time when it all began, the day I boarded the flight to France. I sat in my bare room wrapping up these tokens from my journey, carefully tucking them into corners of my suitcase, ensuring they don't get lost during the transition. So too was I tucking away my experiences and memories into less tangible compartments of my heart. Each object held whispers of laughter, echoes of late-night conversations, undertones of rigorous training sessions, and sweet aftertastes of friendships forged in the heat of the kitchen. Suddenly, I found myself holding the handmade necklace I'd given Isabel. Intricately woven with dreams, love, and shared moments, it seemed to pulsate with memories much like the heartbeats of two lovers entwined. The apartment strangely resonated with the silence hanging in the air after her absence, punctuated only by ticking of the clock or the occasional car horn from the street below. My room was filled with an ensemble of emotions, singing a melancholic opera of farewells and closure. Paris, my home away from home, was packing up too within me. The sights, the sounds, the customary greetings on the streets, even the tantalizing whiff of freshly baked baguettes wafting from nearby shops. Every Parisian nuance was being boxed up within my heart. With heavy luggage and a heavier heart, I penned down a farewell note to my apartment, the silent witness to my highs, lows, and culinary conquests. I imagined the ghost of my presence lingering behind, still cooking in the kitchen or hunching over textbooks in the study. The city was signing off, lacing my thoughts with images of goodbyes and heartwarming memories as my fingers brushed the final word on my note. The dichotomy of emotions was indeed strange, part melancholy, part euphoria. I was leaving a city that had embraced me with open arms, welcomed me into its pulsating heart, and molded me into a chef. Yet I was returning to my roots and to a city that held the first notes of my life symphony. I was aware that Paris had been a significant chapter in my life, but somewhere deep down, I knew that it was not the end. It was instead a beautiful cliffhanger, leaving room for more adventures, more stories, and many more unforgettable Michelin star moments.